Hey, what's up, y'all? Back with another video. Today we're gonna listen to Mehdi. My man Mehdi Hasan. He's one of the best debaters I've ever heard debate. For real, he's really good at debating. Mehdi Hasan, he destroys a far-right idiot. Let's get it. Let's go.
Hey, how's it going? I'm Mehdi.
What's going on, man? Nice to meet you. All right, so first, before I start, I need to know what you mean by good. I can talk about the economy, I can talk about culture, I can talk about all those things. I need to know what you mean.
All of them. I'm saying immigrants are good for the economy. They're good for culture.
Lower wages are
they're
good
good for society. Where's the lower wages?
What do you mean, where's the lower wages?
Where's the lower wages?
Yeah, so you can
What's the
look at
basis for saying there are lower wages?
Sure, so you can look at like the STEM industry. It's been in like a complete and total recession. There's been tons of studies like from the Economic Policy Institute that shows that like companies like Tesla, companies from like Silicon Valley, they engaged in mass firing of workers, around 35,000, but then they hired around 12,000 H-1B visas. And it's kind of just standard economic thinking.
It's not standard economic thinking. The vast majority of economists and economic studies suggest that there is a negligible, if no impact on wages over time.
That's not
from immigrants. In fact, your colleague mentioned earlier, construction, there is actually evidence in construction, yes. But in some industries, in some areas, there is an impact. But overall, no. In fact, a study from the National Bureau of Economic Research found that migrants since 1965 have raised wages and raised innovation.
Who's that by?
National Bureau of Economic Research.
No, hold on. That's where you publish studies. I'm
yes, I didn't memorize the names of the authors.
Yeah, I know you did. Right?
Can you give me the authors you've got?
Yeah, hold on. The study you're talking about is from Giovanni Perry, and what he did is he didn't account for aggregation issues, nor did he...
The vast majority of studies...
Let me speak.
Please.
Yeah, thank you, right? So listen, he didn't account for aggregation issues, right? And when you look at like these spatial approaches that all these economists use, you're not accounting for the fact that when immigrants come into an area, natives leave. If you look at an occupational approach where you look at the specific firms that immigration is going into, like Kim ETAL 2013 did, you find a net negative impact when there's a 10% increase of immigration. You find around a 0.5% decline in wages when it comes to the specific occupations they're going to.
So
all your studies are flawed.
So 0.5%. Weigh that up against what I just mentioned from the Congressional Budget Office, which is a massive boost in GDP per head, which you're not counting for, massive increase in tax revenue, immigrants actually funding the deficits and debts by paying way more in taxes proportionally into the undocumented immigrants. And what's interesting about wages is, I'm in a room full of, I don't know what to call you anymore, conservatives, Republicans, fascists, I don't know. One of you has probably said that. One of us probably, oh yeah, correct. I'm in a room full of correct people, but do any of you actually care about wages? Because,
yeah, I actually do,
For example, do you support raising the minimum wage?
Absolutely, you can't do that when you're bringing all these people coming into...
That's not the reason the Republican Party blocks the minimum wage. You think Republican politicians don't vote for an increase in minimum wage because they're worried about immigration?
Did I say I'm a Republican?
Well, I'm on a show that was called 25 Far-Right Republicans.
That doesn't mean I'm going to support every single...
He's on a show called 25 Far-Right Republicans, and this guy came up and said he's not a Republican. And like even the data that he gave, I want you guys to really truly go do some research on what he just said, because it's not misread, it's just misguided, like the type of data that he's saying. But again, you can say that about any study, so I'm not going to go that far, but I really want people to dive deep into immigration, immigrants, wages, and things like that, and see what's the real cause of it. Because if we see what's the real cause of it, and then you look at what the Republican Party and sometimes the Democratic Party is fighting for, you might look at it a little differently.
Good. So you and I, let's agree.
Immigrants aren't
we both support raising the minimum wage. Yes?
100%.
$7.25 since 2009. It's lost 30% of its value. If you care about wages, we should be raising the minimum wage in this country, not scapegoating migrants who aren't the cause of low wages in the country. You know who's causing low wages? Billionaires, millionaires, and people who won't pay fair wages to their wages, regardless of whether you are an immigrant or a native.
I get the monologue right now. Let me respond.
You had one. No, with your one study that had 0.5% impact. Go.
Yeah, and your study sucked that you didn't even know who wrote it, right? So let's get back to the point, right?
Because I don't need to
there it goes again.
The majority of studies say that wages are not impacted.
The majority of your studies are flawed. That's what I'm telling you.
My studies.
Right.
None of us are economists. It's the economist studies.
Don't assume who I am.
Are you an economist?
I could be.
But are you?
I could be.
Are you?
I'm not going to tell you.
Are you?
I'm going to major in economics, right?
Are you an economist?
No, not right now.
Okay, so when I said neither is economist, I was correct.
Just don't assume.
So use your favorite word.
See here, dude, this is nothing of substance. Look at the red flags. They're coming up. Let me get to...
He's trying so hard to argue with something else that Mehdi Hasan is not trying to say to him. And I think he doesn't like how intelligent Mehdi Hasan is. Mehdi Hasan is an immigrant. You don't like that. You don't like immigrants. That's the thing. You don't like immigrants because they've convinced you to think that immigrants are the problem. And because they've convinced you of that, you don't like immigrants. Shit is so backwards, man.
That's great. But
So when you talk about the CBO, one thing you're not accounting for here is that they're assuming an equilibrium, right? Do you know what that means? You shouldn't make these type of assumptions. You said earlier that unemployment
is like what it means. I thought we were not doing assumptions.
Okay, hold on. You mentioned we were like at like 4.2% unemployment. Yeah, that's counting people who have part-time jobs. That's counting poverty wages.
Yeah, I'm against poverty wages.
You won't let
it again.
Yes, if you go to like the Lowood Institute, they calculate it a way where it's like functional unemployment. Okay, if you account for things like just people who make around $25,000 a year, people who have fallen out of the labor market, people who only work part-time, if you count all of those people together and then add on the unemployment, that's around 25% of the population. So when you go, we don't have jobs, we don't have people to do this, and that, and the other. No, yes, we do. Okay, we don't have a labor shortage. We have a good job shortage. And when you keep bringing these people in, and they're taking those jobs.
The good job shortage is the fault of big firms, employers. I'm an employer, I can say that.
The immigrants.
Who hires the immigrants?
Yeah.
Employers.
Exactly. So that's not what we call these big firms.
Okay, so let me ask you a question.
That, right?
So let me ask you a question. If you got rid of all immigrants coming in tomorrow, moratorium, you think that Republicans and employers of big firms suddenly raise all the wages?
That's what you believe. What I said.
That's what you believe.
And that's the funny part, right? I'm listening to them argue, and I'm just like kind of going back and forth, like with I try to read the comments too as we go along, but it's funny because like do you really think that billionaires and millionaires will raise the wages if they got rid of all the immigrants? They might. You never know. They might.
That's what you believe. That's what you believe. Is that what you? I'm on your subject. Do you believe that wages? I'm just wondering how naive you are. You believe that the 1% will raise wages in the federal wage if we stop immigration?
They will be forced to. When you increase labor's relationship to capital, okay, and you give labor more bargaining power because you're tightening the supply of labor.
Understanding of economics because
okay, explain I'm wrong.
I'm telling you how you're wrong. Because you're ignoring the fact that when immigrants come into an area, they spend money. They create jobs.
About 1/5 of their monthly income leaves the country.
That's a good thing also because you don't like USA foreign aid. So this is the point. They create jobs. I came into this country. So far, every one of my assumptions about you has been correct. But listen to me. I am an immigrant. I'm speaking from personal experience. I don't even like. I should get the hell out.
Yes.
Why?
I don't want you here.
Why?
Because you come here and say all this bullshit about how Americans are lazy. Why? You push your left wing politics.
I never said Americans are lazy.
I don't know why you say that.
All of us don't think this way. That was the most fucked up thing he could have said to him. That was so fucked up. But that's how they think. Like, and it kind of really exposes it. It's sad because the cameras are on, and he's young too, and people are too young to know that they're saying shit that's gonna affect them years down the line when they try to run for certain positions like CEO. Not run, but when they try to apply for certain positions, or run for certain positions like Congress, CEO. All these things are gonna come up in different places. But I don't know, but he may never run for anything like that. It sounds like he's going into a business area. It sounds like he's going into business. So him going into business, that's going to be affected by this video as well. It's so much shit that you got to be careful what you say nowadays because everything is watching you. But it's so much accountability that's held for people who are so young,
I never said Americans.
Yes, you are.
You're not making excuses for what he just said, though. He's fucked up. He's a fucked up human.
You're saying immigrants have to come into this country so they can do jobs that we don't want to do. That's exactly what you said.
When did I say?
Really?
When did I say it? We're on YouTube. Guys watching on YouTube, rewind to the time where I said immigrants are doing jobs we don't want to do. When did I say those words? When did they come out of my mouth?
Okay, so why do we have to bring in immigrants to the country if we have people who are going to do the jobs?
Pause. You've been voted out.
Yeah. Mehdi Hasan is a hell of a debater. So when you debate Mehdi Hasan, you got to be ready. You got to have your shit together. You got to have your notes ready. He's gonna come. He's gonna come with some fire. He's gonna make you think about what you're talking about. Mehdi Hasan is a hell of a debater, guys. But anyways, though, I'm out, y'all. Peace.